right into the regular agenda, the call to order for the Town of Sevastopol Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, May 21 at 7 o'clock. Call it to order, and the first item of business would be the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask that you rise and join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And again, a roll call is required.
Chairman Zipperer,
Here.
Supervisor Wolfel,
Here.
Supervisor Stavenus,
Here.
and Supervisor Gurman,
Here.
with Supervisor Tice excused.
Okay, what we normally do is have a little meet and greet so we know who we're talking to or talking about, so we don't trip over. And we'll start up here. Everyone knows Linda Waite, our clerk treasurer. And go ahead, Tom.
Tom Gurman, I've been a supervisor here for about 7 years. Chair a couple of committees. One is the Public Education and Government Channel, and also the Fire Prevention Committee.
Okay, I'm Chairman Leo Zipperer. I've been around for a little while. And I don't know how much longer I'll be here, but. Dan?
I'm Dan Wolfel, and I hope you're here longer than me. Thank you.
John Stavnes. I've been a supervisor for probably 6 years, so.
All right, Bill, go ahead.
I'm Bill Schuster, I'm county conservationist with the Dark County Soil and Water Conservation Department. I'm also a Sevastopol property owner and resident.
Next.
Hi, Marnie Keski, Stewardship Coordinator with the Regis Sanctuary.
Ready?
Betty Kano, Linda's mom.
Babysitter, okay.
Ward Kramer, resident on Glidden Drive.
Okay,
Judy Kramer, resident on Glidden Drive.
all right.
Dan Manertai, Brussels, here representing, not representing, on the committee of LCC, Land Conservation Committee, and want to take in the presentation that they're giving here tonight.
Okay.
I'm Dan Flor, and I've been here longer than you do.
Thank you.
Paul Schumacher, Clark Lake.
Larry Demuth, farmer on Dunn Road.
Victoria Saranich, I'm a property owner and resident in Sevastopol, and a member of the Planning Commission, and a member of the League of Women Voters.
And behind the camera? Uh-oh, he's going to make his appearance.
Laddie Chapman, resident of Sevastopol.
What a ham.
Well, he didn't dance this time, that's changed.
Yeah, that's better. All right, if the agenda has been properly noticed, we need a motion then to adopt.
So move.
I'll second.
As you can see by the published, we do have presentations, 7:15, so we'll get to those within 5 minutes or so. All in favor of adopting the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And is carried. Approval of the minutes, the Board of Supervisors for April 16, 2012.
So move.
Motion by John, and a second is
I'll second that.
by Dan to approve the minutes. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financial reports for April 2012, the budget versus actual, the account balances and the transactions. Are there any questions on any of those? Need a motion to accept and place on file?
I so move.
Second.
Motion made by Tom, seconded by John to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Did you get a chance to look at these?
No, I haven't yet.
Do we have any committee, oral committee reports or committee minutes? Part of the packet was the Park and Rec Board meeting minutes of April 11th. The Door County Coastal Byway Council meeting minutes, April 11th.
We can go back to that.
We go back and approve the vouchers, bills, and claims for April 17 through May 21.
Make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims.
Second.
Motion by John, seconded by Dan to approve. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're a little bit ahead of schedule, but I think we can get into it right away. Before we get to the Dunes Lake Watershed Project, we do have a cable channel awards presentation, and Tom is the chairman of the group. We'll turn it over to
Okay.
Mr. Gurman.
Well, a number of years ago, we formed our own public education and government TV channel with the assistance of Charter. And every year, they have a meeting, and they discuss future directions and whatnot. And they also have a ceremony for some of the better videos that are produced by the membership. A little bit about Wisconsin Community Media. It was formerly known as Wisconsin Association of Public Education and Government Access Channels, or WAPAC. A very long-winded name for an organization, so they decided to shorten that, and they are now known as the Wisconsin Community Media, and that's in order to reflect a broadening role as a public resource. The purpose of the Wisconsin Community Media, or WCM, is to provide access television for communities and other organizations and make it easier for public speech and information distribution on a community level. That's the reasoning behind the WCM. WCM is a 501c6 member organization. There are 60 public education and government access TV member stations in Wisconsin. That number does fluctuate, but at the point this was written, there were 60. If there's anyone who would request additional information on WCM, I would suggest you go to their website and Google WCM, or Wisconsin Community Media, and get a little more background on that association. We have been a member for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now, and we do a number of different videos, and Laddie handles most of that. Some of the things we've done, if you haven't watched our channels, that's 986 if you have a control box, or if you have straight cable, is channel 96. 97, 986 and 97. Some of the things we've done, or Laddie has done and produced, is the Jacksonport Polar Bear Club swim. I don't know if anyone's watched that. We have the Resource Planning Committee we've taped. We don't do all the committees on the county level, depending on the importance of a particular or the interest of a particular meeting. We'll go in and film that. League of Women Voters roundtable discussion with Judges Ehlers and Dilts. That was done back in January of a year ago. We do a number of school shows, videos, Sevastopol School. We had one with Superintendent Cromwell explaining the referendum. That was in February of 11, and we just may have the same thing coming up in 12. We had the Sevastopol first grade visits, Miller Art Museum, the County Board of Supervisors. We had a concert, gospel concert. We had our annual meeting. So you can get an idea as to what kind of videos we do produce here at our Sevastopol station. The meeting that they'll hold on an annual basis One of the things they do, they discuss trends, you know, where we're going and whatnot, but they also have a presentation ceremony. And they have categories of merit, which is lowest, achievement, and the highest is a award of excellence. And what they do is they look at the videos that are produced, some of which I mentioned earlier, and they rate the shows and they categorize them in, you know, the 3 different categories I mentioned, and then they also rate them within those categories as to first place, second place, et cetera. It turns out that in the excellent category for a documentary feature, we won that first place award. It was the Valmy Threshery, and Dennis Conley was the individual that did the commentator for that. Dennis interviews threshery participants, montage of events, the cavalcade of powers, sawmilling with the Herschels, blacksmithing, and of course, pig wrestling. In the excellence category also, we had George Evenson visit the Simon infants, and we'll have a little clip of that later. And it was a very interesting clip. I did see it on YouTube, and you can access that on YouTube if you're interested in seeing that. Also in the excellent category was the Sevastopol Daily Breakfast, and also in the excellent category was the Sevastopol History with George Evenson. And that's really interesting. George goes back quite a ways and is very familiar with our history, so it's interesting watching. The awards we have were provided to Dennis Conley and George Evenson. Unfortunately, they're not here tonight, but we will be doing a separate awards presentation. And last but not least is the individual that puts all this together. Laddie was initiated, if you will, as the program director a few years ago, and he is a one-man band. Laddie takes care of the producing, he goes out and videos the different events, he does all the editing, and editing, by golly, takes a lot of time. You can just imagine he'll film for a couple of hours and boil that down to maybe 20 minutes of video, and it takes a lot of editing, cutting, adding, and whatnot, and he does a fine job with that. So we would not have won the 4 awards in the excellence category without the videos that were produced by Laddie. So I'd like to recognize our program director, Laddie. He continues to be our videographer, editor, and producer of everything we see on 986 and 97. So with that, Laddie, if you would step here, please. And I would present this award to Laddie for a fine job for 2011.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
I
much.
am honored. And it's made of glass or plastic, I don't know. It's very nice and very heavy.
It's recycled.
It's recycled glass. Thank you, and we'll make sure that George and Dennis get their copies. Shall I speak over at the podium for a minute?
Sure.
I'm going over there, because the mic is better over there. We're going to show you some clips from the 4 shows that won awards. 2 of them are actually just 2 minutes. The actual shows were only 2 minutes apiece, so you'll see the whole show. And the 3rd and 4th clips were just pieces taken out of a half-hour show. But you can see everything on YouTube, and if you want information about how to get there, see me afterwards. I do want to thank Dennis, of course, Dennis Connolly and George Evenson, because without them we wouldn't have half the show. I also want to thank the town for providing this kind of a resource to their citizens and their cable subscribers. They could have used the money that comes from franchise fees for roads, but they decided it was worthwhile for education and government enlightenment, shall we say. So without further ado, let me start this show here.
Well, I always thought it was kind of strange that this tree was here, so close to the line fence. Can't hardly get through it. But I come to find out later, there was a reason why this tree was left. Many years ago, this corner of the property was owned by the diocese in Green Bay. And the reason I know that is because I owned the property one time, and they were the owners back in the late 1800s. Here's the marker here. Simon infants. Edgus and Franz. And someone still remembers. Still the flowers are here. It was kind of interesting because the land that's right on this side of the line fence belonged to a man by the name of Simon. Now there's a stone here remembering the kids. Yet he had to make a promise that he would never cut the trees down. Now that the stones are here, it certainly will be remembered and saved.
To Memphis, a young boy in my prime. I thought that big old city could ease my Georgia mind. But after just 1 hour, I met this southern girl. She said, "You call me the queen of Memphis." Then she took me around the world. And I saw stars dancing on the water. I heard Elvis singing Blue Suede Shoes. That old muddy river was my witness. The night I fell in love with Queen of Memphis. I woke up the next morning, prisoner of her charms. Showed me things I've never seen back there on that farm. See, they let my soul on fire. She revealed all my dreams. Boy, became a man that night in the arms of a Memphis queen. And I saw stars dancing on the water. I heard Elvis singing Blue Suede Shoes. That old muddy river was my witness. Night I fell in love with Queen of Memphis. Just like that old man river, she keeps flowing through my mind. And you know I won't forget her, 'cause she was one of a kind.
It was only because of dedication and hard work. Not much of it had to do with luck. let's hope we have enough courage to support, to continue to support these areas so generations in the future can look at them and marvel as we are marveling today.
With Pastor Ben Anstad. We have the Lakeshore Garden Tractor Pullers Thresher Man of the Year. It's going to be announced at the pull. We have kids tractor pull events. We have the Bidoff Brothers, a Cavalcade of Power, which is an incredible parade of antique machines in front of the grandstand. We have a Mud Pig Wrestling Contest and a barrel race. It goes on and on. It's to be enjoyed by all. It's the Antique Power Association's Threshery.
No award for taping the town board meetings?
We didn't submit that.
Oh, please, next year, okay?
Yeah, just as a wrap on that, I suggest everyone who is viewing this, this video or this meeting, tune into 986 and tune into 97, and you'll see a lot more. There's a lot of good music that is put on by Laddie. We have bands, we have dances. He has access to pretty much a countrywide, US-wide access of different video clips that we use. We have a lot of stuff coming from New York, we have California, so it's not just necessarily Sevastopol. There's just so much time you can fill with that. There are some very interesting shows, and you can check it out at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. If you're an insomniac and you have a problem sleeping, they'll either put you to sleep or wake you up for the rest of the day. So enjoy 986 and or 97. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the late arrivals were the Geisels, who actually have been, how many years have you been with the Treasury? 30. Very good. Thanks for coming. Okay, we're running a little bit behind, but Cable Channel Awards presentation is appreciated as well. The next item would be the Dunes Lakes Watershed Project presentation by the Door County Soil and Water Conservation Department. Bill Schuster is a conservationist. What I did is I brought forward the resolution of the county board for tomorrow, so the members here would have, and as well, we have the map.
Sure. I have a few extra quotes that I did.
Okay, do you have anything for the people?
Right, I've got, unfortunately, just 4 extra copies if people want to share what I'm talking about there.
Is it gonna be okay there? You want them at the podium or where?
Wherever you want to speak is fine.
Are you okay there?
Sure.
Thanks, Bill. You're welcome.
All right, what I want to do tonight is to bring the board a little bit up to speed of where a project that I think all of you have been aware of that we started in 2008.
And that was a lake planning project for Dunes Lake. And what I'd like to do is, just if you look at your first aerial photo that is on the top, just so everyone can get sort of oriented. You can see Dunes Lake way in the bottom. That's where Dunes Lake is. And then the red line is the watershed, the surface watershed that is mostly drained by Geisel Creek, but there's some other tributaries that come in. And that's the surface area that drains into Geisel Creek and into the lake. If you would page to the third page, which is a photo of the creek. And then the last page is an aerial photo of the lake. And the reason this project started back in 2008 is for the past decade or so, there's been observations by people who fish and hunt and canoe and go back into the lake and have watched the lake over the years and used the lake and the creek over the years, that there is anecdotally, a rapid aging of this system, and that there is excessive algae growth, filamentous algae growth, duckweed, and if you look at this photo, this is a photo of the creek during the growing season, and you can just see how thick things have become. And then when you look at the aerial photo, that lime green color is that algae and duckweed. That's illustrative of the sort of the rich nutrients that are coming down the stream and going to the lake. In addition to that, there's a somewhat rapid deposition of sediment material and other plant materials where you go into the lake, marked decrease in freshwater mussels, and just a changing of the lake character and the bed of the lake. And this is all anecdotal from people people like myself who've been going back for many years, and others too. It's changing rapidly. So what we did in 2008 is we applied for and got the first of a number of DNR lake planning grants. And both Leo and Biz as county board representatives and town board representatives have been helpful as we've worked through this project and getting the funding. And we're at a point now that our report is in pieces in a very rough draft, and it's been sent out in pieces to various peer review. Just like any other scientific document, we go through a peer review. This is the very early peer review. After this first peer review, it'll be put together and there'll be a wider distribution of the draft for comment. This isn't comment of the final document, it's comment of various peers and stakeholders. We anticipate our report being completed, and hopefully we'll be making a request that we can utilize the town board and work with the town board to have some presentations and some public meetings on it to explain the findings of the report. While the report isn't ready for distribution, what the report does show, and maybe I should back up just a little bit so you can get some idea of the level of research that's happened. We've had extensive surface water and groundwater sampling up and down the stream. There's those of you who've been back at the lake and have really hiked around, there's 3 or 4 very significant springs, and we've been monitoring those for temperature and quality and flow. We installed a couple deep wells down near the lake that help with the delineation and determination of the groundwater capture zone and the groundwater movement. We put shallow wells further north up near the sewage treatment ponds, and we've been collecting water samples year-round throughout the entire watershed. We've modeled that groundwater contribution area, and the second page that you have, the first page, if you recall, that's the surface area. When rain or snow is in that red area, it drains towards the creek and the lake. The second aerial photo with the blue and the green lines
represents the groundwater capture zone. It's actually called a groundwater zone of contribution. And what that means is that water that infiltrates within those areas is going to the lake. And much of this work was done by Dr. Ken Bradbury and a number of graduate students and a couple other geologists. They're the same group that did the City of Sturgeon Bay's zone of contribution several years ago and really wrote the book on fractured media delineation of groundwater movement. The reason the two different colors is that one is a wet season, the other is a dry season. And as the water table goes up and down, the capture zone changes for any given well or body of water. So we now have an understanding of where the water is coming from, both groundwater and surface. And we've been working on the modeling and the understanding of the delivery of the nutrients. And without any surprise, well, I guess the watershed is 72% agriculture, 20% forest, and then 8% everything from, houses, vacant land, and wetlands. I've said this, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times during my career. When you look at any body of water which is suffering in some way, and people ask what is the source, well, the source is always what is the land use. It's pretty simple as that. And what we have done, and just some preliminary numbers, is we're looking at phosphorus delivery in the 70-some% coming from agricultural lands, the majority of the remaining coming from the sewage ponds, and then a combination of other things after that. And again, these are just preliminary numbers subject to peer review, and when we come back with the report, that will be a peer-reviewed report, and we'll feel confident about that. The reason that I'm here today is that we're moving into that phase where we start working on solutions. And solutions will be looking at all the sources over the years to come and what we can do to help out. It's going to force a public debate, and people like yourself that get elected into positions are going to have to make some decisions as to what's the best use and how far does one go to work and change things. And that's really our next time when we get together and we look at the report. Because us as the people from the sciences and natural resources, we're going to be sort of handing this off to the county board, the town board, the sanitary district, school, the landowner associations, and that's going to begin the public debate of, all right, this is the issue, here are 10 potential things you can do, what's the cost benefit and how far is society and elected people willing to go? That's not tonight. What's tonight is to give you that update, and that what we did is we applied for what's known as a targeted runoff management grant. And I believe Leo shared a county board resolution which is going to the county board tomorrow. And we've been offered a grant of $529,400 to start working on the open lands, the ag lands, the rural lands within the watershed. These funds would be used to work with farmers to pay for 70 to 90% of the cost of what we call BMPs, or best management practices. In this watershed, what appears is the largest culprit for that land use are fields, nutrient management, direct delivery into channels of sediment and nutrients. And an awful lot of our work will be working on trying to get more of those soft practices in, and soft practices not things that don't require brick and mortar, though there are a couple projects which potentially will include those. The nature of projects like that are that there are some bare minimum things which can be required of landowners, just like septic systems. When you work with non-point, there's some of these bare minimum things that can be required of landowners. In addition to that, there'll be efforts to try to get more voluntary action regarding some of the buffers and the stream channels or the channels. And that's really where we are right now. I can answer some questions about the findings, but I don't want to go too far because, like I said, it's under peer review. The project has been funded, and I guess I should have brought that up. Our work up to this date has been 3 lake planning grants, the Glidden Drive Association, the Raybrook Foundation, several private donors, the Door County Property Owners Association, the Wisconsin Land and Water Conservation Association, and the UW-Oshkosh Biology and Microbiology Department, and the UW-Madison Hydrogeologists. I'm not sure what their whole department name is called. It's really not an action item of any sort. It's really that because we're moving forward with this with the county board, it's causing the public debate to begin. And that public debate, as the report comes out, will get more active. And that's where we'll be coming to you folks for that forum to present in much greater detail. This is just a preview. What are the findings and the list of potential solutions. And I'll forewarn you that solutions range from do nothing and accept this to do something very significant. And then people like yourself, that's not my job at that point, people like yourself are going to have to be participants as to how far do you go with solutions. So that's really all I wanted to say tonight. It's just an FYI, and then made myself available.
Bill, I have a question. When will the report be due? And secondly, once the report is published, we will no doubt be getting involved with looking at different solutions and whatnot. Who do we rely on as a technical resource to provide us with the information we need to make these correct decisions down the road?
Well, if all goes right, the report will be out this fall. And when I say it that way is because it's going out for that peer review, and we're going to make changes, we're going to put it back out there, widen the group. It depends on how long that process takes, because we need to respond and listen. There's a lot of good minds out there. Who do you rely on? There will be a wide variety of voices giving you different advice. I think the science in terms of the findings won't be greatly challenged. The findings won't be. They're solid. You can argue the details, but they're pretty solid. Where you're going to get a wide variety of advice is going to be how far does one go? No, I'll give you kind of the far extreme. Right now, Dunes Lake provides a lot, but not enough, assimilation of the nutrients. Actually, Shipping Sands going out to Lake Michigan is putting out pretty much unacceptable level of nutrients, more than we see coming out of the creeks that come out of the other lakes. But the lake is providing some attenuation. One could argue that you don't care of other uses for the lake, and that using it for attenuation is an acceptable use. And thus, you only do limited upstream activities to maybe reduce it so it's not putting excess out in Lake Michigan. To the other extreme, which would be some very significant structural things that would have to happen, you're going to get advice coming from factions that are going to be pushing different ways, and their science will probably be good too. It's really going to, the toughest part of this, Tom, is going to be the public policy decision, not the science. And the cost?
Because you'll be affecting the economies of a number of the farmers and farms that are involved with this, because it's a matter of a living involved as
Sure.
well, besides the technical
And,
aspect.
you know, it isn't, we aren't ready to release the data, but there will be a significant debate regarding the sewage ponds. And that one probably has even a greater potential for cost if you go this way, or less if you go that way. I suspect that'll be the one of the greatest debate. I mean, there's no reason to dodge that point. That'll be the largest debate, because remember, the lake does provide an attenuation, service. But the public policy question is that okay or not? The report will list options.
Does the report show mostly that we have too many nutrients and it's not a bacterial problem?
Yes, it's
So
nutrients, that's what's happening.
it's a nutrient issue rather, because I think at one point in time when they started this, there was a strong feeling that the treatment ponds were contributing more than nutrients.
Well, certainly in any project, there are people who are on the peripheral who have come to conclusions, and our answer has always been let the science go where it's going to go. There will be a discussion as to the discharge of the ponds into either gaining or losing streams, dry, wet, and that can bring up bacteriological and viruses and other things, and that'll be a healthy debate also. And I think what's important is that, I'll say it now, even before the report comes out, it isn't going to suggest that someone's doing something wrong. You've got to be careful in life that you don't judge activities of 30 years ago through eyes of today and make value judgments. It's just, is it acceptable in today's world, and where do you want to go with that? But that's our job, to present that to the elected bodies, and it certainly is going to cause some spirited debates. I guarantee you that, because where do you go? And everyone has different value judgments on these topics we're talking about.
Are there other signs of aging besides the nutrients? Like, what are some of the specifics?
Without getting specifics, I didn't even mention this, there was a really interesting thing that was done. There was core sample taken of the sediment in the bottom of the lake, and they were able to age the thin layers of that core sample of the sediments, and then you can look at fairly accurately when some very significant changes took place, and that's certainly and I'm not going to jump to it, because again, we're just beginning to get to peer review, and there may be people out there who greatly challenge the findings of that, and we'll have to fit that in. I assume, John, you've been back in that lake many times, too?
Once or twice, yeah.
Okay. That's what started all this, is those of us who've been back there looking at it and going, something's happening. And it isn't good enough for us to speculate, because when you start a debate that's going to start, you better be ready to back up your positions, and that's where we'll be when we put out the report.
So you didn't like the idea that you could walk across the lake?
Some areas you don't want to walk.
There are.
You know.
So you can actually compare events of, beginnings of the sewage plant, and look at that core sample date and kind of correlate between something that was put in place in effect and the result on the lake. So you can actually structure that quite algorithmically, I guess.
And we want to make sure that the science world agrees with that.
Right.
Because they're important, they're real important.
I know this is going to bring a lot of questions and perhaps a lot of hate and discontent by the time it's finished. The word on the street already is that the ponds have failed. And the interest is growing on a daily basis. I guess my question to you would be, are we relying on your information? Are we relying on someone else or some agency that came in and did the testing of the system? That would be question number one. And then question number two, do we go on the rules and regulation of the soil and water conservation? Or
Well,
do we do it with the DNR?
Okay, first was the pond, and I guess I will kind of pass on failing or not failing. There's certainly, the ponds have a.
Well, let's not put it pass or fail. Do we speculate that there is contribution?
Yes. From multiple ways.
So is it proven or speculated or?
Well, you're not going to be relying on my opinion. You'll be relying on some good scientists that aided in the project.
Okay.
And with some of the best, the hydrogeologist has probably got the best credentials
Okay.
in the state of
All right.
Wisconsin. In terms of the standards, whether they're ag or septic, they're the state standards. They're not ours. Partial things that we'd like to see, I mentioned at the beginning, there's some things that would have to be done voluntarily. There's areas where one may really like to see some significant buffering done, and the statewide standards are less than that. Thus, it would have to be voluntary, above and beyond the standards, but no one can.
So for those that are in the sanitary district, if they didn't contribute the amount of phosphorus that they do through their regular dishwashing and stuff, can kind of help the problem already?
That list of options that talked about for different things certainly will include one sort of low-cost option is don't put as many nutrients into the system, both from ag and from septic. So if you don't put as much in, you don't have as much of a problem to solve. And that'll be one of the mixed options.
I remember we had a Pat Miller lady
Yes.
who was very much instrumental in getting this all accomplished, and it went on to the state to restrict the sale of, right?
Yeah.
So,
If you, for example, cut the amount of phosphorus that goes into the system, it would take years, I suppose, before you could note the effects of that, no? Or is it pretty quick?
No, and I'm not a limnologist, and we'll make the lake scientist, I'm not a limnologist, but the response was going to be slow.
Right.
It's going to be slow. This isn't something you do necessarily for your lifetime. These are the type of things that are longer topics.
okay, getting away from the, were you done with the pond?
Let me ask one other question if I can.
Go ahead.
Just that, when you talk about coming back to this board, I don't believe, or maybe I'm incorrect, we don't really control the ponds. It would really be the district, so they'd have to be as involved as anybody in that aspect of it.
I think he was making reference to the fact that we use the facility to have the hearing, right?
And you're organizing and representing the community, because there's the school district, there's the town, you represent those folks too, so it's a whole group, and there's gonna be stakeholders in different directions.
That's fine.
I'm gonna switch gears on you a little bit here. How many of our farmers are in this area of contribution?
I don't know if I have that number from you. There is,
Well, do we have Dan Plur, is he in it?
yes,
And we can go
And
It's
the
a huge,
Geisels are in it, and Mr. Demise is in it.
Okay.
goes quite a ways north.
It goes quite a ways north, and if you look at the second map, you can see that the groundwater contributing area switches a little bit to the west and bring in some areas. What's interesting, it's interesting to me, is often the groundwater zoning contribution is a lot more different than the surface water. This one's remarkable how close it is. An interesting thing that was done is we had what's called hobo monitors in these springs, and we take temperature readings in very short intervals, and we can understand the groundwater movement as to whether the groundwater is going into easily definable sinkholes or crevices, or is it more wide field-based. And based on the temperature response of the rain temperature to the spring temperature, it's definitely field-based, broader. There are places in Sevastopol Township and other places in the county where we have very direct sinkhole entering, and it's not a lot of that happening in this thing.
All right.
The top of that almost goes, I think that's Town Line Road.
Is it Town Line or is it one below Town Line?
Could be Clark Lake, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the, like below Town Line.
Okay.
The other question I would have is what kind of ratio do we have in the farmers and the cattle? As compared to the dollar funds that you're looking at here?
The amount of money
For
that
best
we have is
management
not,
practices to control
Right.
runoff.
the amount of money we have, $529,000, is not a large amount of money for working in a project of this size. And it's largely, it's that size because most of the effort is going to be towards field practices. There's a couple operations that we do need to talk about the hard practices. And if we don't have sufficient funds for those, we'll have to put those off until we do.
So you can handle all this with the 647?
Well, the 647 includes a different project of 150.
Okay.
The Dunes Lake is 529. We can handle
No,
small.
you can't put them all together.
Pardon?
You can't put them all together, although they
Well,
affect the,
This 150 is not in the Dunes Lake.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I see
Oh,
that.
But for those, Leo knows this, but for those who don't know, if we are working with a landowner, we're obligated to provide a minimum of 70% cost sharing. In an economic hardship, we have to provide 90%. So if we're looking at a $100,000 project, you do the math, the type of money we need to come up with. So if the project has insufficient funds, unless a landowner is willing to do it at a lesser support level, the project is put off until we acquire those funds, which isn't totally impossible, but it takes years. You know, we apply a year or two ahead of time.
Okay, a lot of these questions will probably come up tomorrow, but
Yeah.
I did take a look at the Zoom today, and also I had this printed out. So you're talking that you only have 32,343 of the total, that'd be line 26 if you have it along, would be used for the cost share and design assistance. That seems pretty low if you want to come up with a system that's going to be working.
32,000 is all that's available to offset design costs. The rest of it, 500, just short of 500,000 is direct cost sharing.
Okay. When are you going to notify the people of the concerns that you're going to be bringing forward, or have they already been?
Once we get well, there's two tracks going on. The study report That's going to be broad community announcements and public meetings.
Yeah, okay.
In terms of the trim money, once we have that contract signed by the county and the state, then we start that process of landowner contact. It's premature to do it now.
Well, apparently the word got out because we do have some of the affected farmers here tonight.
And I suspect the next time we're here with the full report,
Right.
we'll have a lot more.
So what's the time, what are we looking at time-wise as far as implementing or even identifying first of all?
Which area, the ag or the other?
Well, let's go with the big one, yeah.
Well, the big one's the other,
Okay.
cost-wise, I think,
Yeah.
and potential. I think that's the no-cost things, if there's some community embracement of reducing of nutrients into what they're putting into systems, that's short-term. There are gonna be some other fairly lower-cost suggestions, which I think can be implemented in a year or two. But I think the big solution is hopefully within the next decade. Because this isn't the type of thing that a small community can just do. This is gonna take effort.
Okay, my last one, and maybe I'm way ahead of the program here, but we do have areas in our town where we have farmers that are bringing in manure from other townships. So is there any way that we can monitor that other than become a dumping grounds for the larger cattle producers
Right.
or?
You cannot obstruct commerce,
Yeah.
the movement of it. That's been suggested by various town boards elsewhere in the county. Can't do it. What we can do is to require the correct implementation of nutrient management plans regardless of where the nutrient is. This
Yeah.
lake doesn't care
Yeah.
where the nutrients came from.
Well, we have one dumpster right not too far from where we're sitting. You've been involved in that one before, so. Okay. Any other questions of Bill? Okay.
I look forward to coming back.
I think that does go up.
I'm sure you will.
Is it down there?
Because it cuts off there, that looks like County T. There's that gap on County T, so that would incorporate like up by the grassy farm and up in that
It'd
area.
be just barely answer. I was trying to think which question I'd have and not know the answer. I think we just take that one.
All right, the other question that was brought up, not by me, but I think Biz, was about the zone of contribution for the city of Sturgeon Bay water supply. Can you just touch on that one? So
Yeah.
they know where we're heading?
Sure. The zone of contribution for the city's wells is quite narrow, and it goes up, if you think Cherry Hills Golf Course to somewhere a little bit east of Highway 42, all the way just about to Carlsville. It's a very long zone of contribution. And what's interesting about that one is that most of the time we talk about groundwater movement in a few feet in years. That thing, in about less than a year, we can move what goes into the ground down to the people drinking it in Sturgeon Bay. Essentially what we're talking about here. If one had drilled a big high-capacity well in this area, you would then stretch out that zone of contribution. This is just passive introduction of groundwater or surface water.
All right, but I wanted it understood that this was not.
Oh, they don't overlap.
How lucky.
Okay, any other question or comment? No?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We'll look forward to the public hearing when you bring all the information forward. So. Okay, thank you. Moving on with the agenda, the next item is the pending business, the status discussion and action. Door County Coastal Byway. We are in need of a community meeting with Schmekel Reserve to discuss our participation. And Linda, you've been going to the meetings. You want to give us the information?
Yes, in connection with the advancement of the Door County Coastal Byway, which runs up Highway 42 on one side and down 57 on the other, or vice versa, the Coastal Byway Council has hired the Schmekel Reserve Group. They're out of the, they're a part of UW Stevens Point. And in order to put together a interpretive plan, this is going to be similar to what we did with the comprehensive plan, where there will be public sessions and gatherings. They're looking to gather information from residents, citizens of the 8 municipalities, community stakeholders they are called, to gather information that will guide the development of the narrative plan for the Coastal Byway and what will be included on these kiosks throughout the communities. So there are several meetings scheduled already with Ron Zimmerman from the Schmekel Group. Right now, Sister Bay is having theirs on June 6th in the evening. Jacksonport is having theirs on June 7th. Bailey's Harbor, June 11th. Gibraltar, June 11th. And Liberty Grove on June 12th. So we need to schedule one for Sevastopol, since we are part of the Coastal Byway Group. We could perhaps join in with Jacksonport's on June 7th. I haven't talked to them about that. Or we could pick our own date. I think they're trying to stay within that time frame of June 6th and June 12th, just to save travel, time, and expense for the Schmekel groups.
We're already paying for that service?
The whole plan went out on an RFP, request for proposals, so they have been awarded the bid.
Okay. All right, what are your thoughts as far as meeting separately, or would you like to do a joint meeting with the Jacksonport town?
Well, I think to make things easier for all concerned, and the Schmekel Group, if they could join the Jacksonport meeting, it might make sense to do it that way.
Anybody else have a problem with June 7th? It's on a Thursday, the first one in the month of June.
So would they be trying to develop 2 different towns at the same time with one meeting? Is that what you're implying?
I did run this by Ann Miller. She's the current chairman of the Coastal Byway Company, Coastal Byway Council. She didn't think there would be a problem. A lot of the ideas that come forth will probably be similar, since they are a neighboring town. As I mentioned, with our comprehensive plan, the citizens and the residents seem to have the same, thoughts and concerns. What makes your community unique? We more or less share a cave point with Jacksonport, so that would certainly be something in common. What makes your town unique? What attractions should tourists not miss? What resources do we have available? Restaurants, hotels, information centers, business groups, community experts, collection of historic photographs. What makes your community unique or special?
Well, doesn't Jacksonport already claim the Cave Point Park? And I think they take credit for the treasury and all the other items that are in a good place to eat is Glidden Lodge.
Maybe we should go to this meeting just to get our
We already
attractions
share a lot
back.
of things with them, so we might as well share a public input meeting too.
57 only goes to Jacksonport, so yeah, I understand. Okay. So is this an evening meeting on the 7th or what?
Right right now, they're, and Jacksonport will be talking about it tomorrow at their town board meeting, June 7th at 7 p.m. So if the board would like to piggyback, I could give their clerk a call and they could talk about it at their board meeting tomorrow night, since it is on their agenda.
Well, why don't we see if that'll work, and if not, we'll have to have our own, but. Okay. That'll work for you, it'll work for me. The kiosk design and location was the next item. Was Chuck handling that, or did he not, or Linda?
Well, there again, I think the council is getting anxious for everyone to pick a location, but perhaps we should wait until we have the Schmeickel Group's input as to what would be the best location for Sevastopol, here at the town hall grounds, over on the corner, or some alternative location. So,
Well, we've talked about it before, in almost every place we go outside of the town hall parking lot is gonna have an expenditure of sorts. So we're, maybe it is a good idea to wait. Was this that executive committee that they came out of, or not, or is this the other group?
at the meeting held, at the April meeting, it was decided, I don't know if it's in the minutes or not, it was decided to form an executive committee, a small core group that would meet with the Schmeickel Reserve people and report to the entire council group. The 3 members have been selected, Chuck Tice, Ann Miller, and Beth Hagan. That may change a bit with Ann's situation now, but I don't think they've held any meetings to date, but it is in the works to have this executive committee to sort of collect and gather information and report back to the group as a whole.
Well, I see all, the scheduling is supposed to be done through Sam, right?
The scheduling of the public meetings, yes. Sam Perlman at the Economic Development Corp.
Yeah.
He is assisting us in scheduling,
Okay.
so we would need to notify him as well.
All right, let's shoot for June 7 on a combined effort, and we'll go from there. The thumbs up rider situation, do we have anyone from the group here?
I did receive an email
All right.
from Amy Bauer. She was at our meeting last month. She said to thank you all for the heads up. It's a pending matter right now, and she would not be able to attend tonight's meeting. They most recently are trying to get some publicity to inform landowners that they do plan to have a public recreational horse trail connecting northern Door County to the Anape Trail outside of Sturgeon Bay. They're looking at using that transmission line corridor as the main focus, and so they will be in touch with the landowners along there. They're in the process of scheduling meetings and picking dates to call the landowners and hope to have an informational open house to share the route with the public and address any questions. So right now, it's just,
Okay, the way we left it last time around, we were not in a position to take any definitive action on it, and we had asked for them to provide more or give us the information for us to come in resolution form. I did not receive anything, so what I was able to garner for the program, when I made inquiries about it, I thought perhaps they were going to be going to the highway department to see if they could somehow get involved with the Bicycle Foundation, and apparently that's not permitted. So Do we just leave it on a hold situation and let them do their own publicity, or what? Your thoughts, please?
Do nothing until they come back to us and ask for something, I would think.
Yeah, I didn't even know how we'd start to approach it. If you're gonna have a bike path throughout the county, I don't think you can have a horse trail on the same path.
Okay.
We could be
I mean,
supportive and buy a horse.
It says non-motorized vehicles, so.
You know, so I think we just need
Yeah,
more
okay.
information on those.
I think we just buy a
All
horse.
right, well, we'll entertain anything that might come our way. So, let's go on then, the new business, Door County Bicycle Pedestrian Recreation Facilities Plan. It's an FYI to let you know that there are meetings in Northern Door tomorrow and Southern Door on Wednesday, May 23, at Nassau Town Hall, in the event you do want to be there.
See, Tony Haynes is the new chairman?
Yeah, he's the new chairman guy. Didn't you know that?
I know it now.
Okay. Noticed of utility construction, a new cell tower at County HH and Whitefish Bay Road. It's an FYI. Had to do with them following town road, including a map indicating where the project would begin, Big Creek, Alabama 14th, Peterson, Walker to County Road HH.
Do we know whose tower that is? Not that it matters, I'm just curious.
Netlick LLC?
I mean, it's not like Verizon or Cellcom
Who
or
sits on that?
somebody new?
They're gonna sell to everyone, or do they?
No, we don't know.
Interesting.
This is only a construction company anyway, and I
Right.
would think they're gonna,
Somebody's paying them, might be interesting to know who's paying them.
well, you're gonna rent the space. You'll rent the space on their tower.
Yeah.
Did you have anything, Linda?
No, other than detailed
Okay.
drawings of the entire project.
All right, the next item is the ordinance number 2012, number 13, indicating that they have been approved by the county board. Those changes, 11 would be the next one. And it had to do with the community commercial kitchen, fine arts venue, and the number of accessory buildings in residential districts. DNR, the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program appraisal of the Modwin property. Did we actually get a dollar value on any of that?
If you look at the I only included the appraisal that was used. If you look at the 4th page,
Million,
yeah, I'm sorry,
300,000, I
the
think.
last page, 1.020 million.
Oh, okay.
That's for the
1.02.
entire 427 acres. And then we send this to our assessor.
All right, very good.
There's a kind of a typo or something there on page 3. It says location. It says subject properties are located in the eastern portion of Door County and 1 mile south of Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin. Well, that would be down in Milwaukee. They better have a road in there. Little RD
There you
makes
go.
The RD makes a difference.
$1,235,000 total as praised value for that parcel.
Was that all the parcels
All the
together?
parcels added together, yeah.
It was all 400 and some acres?
Mhm.
Or it'll be tax exempt now.
Yeah, they usually, it ends up in the DNR's name, and they usually give us
That's right.
payment in lieu, right?
Taxes.
So, and most of that was in managed forest anyhow, so.
Yeah, this would go on, what is it? Is it a 10-year reduced program?
I'm not sure
Down to
what the
zero.
rate is.
Yeah,
But wasn't it gonna be turned over to the,
The land
Land
trust
trust?
purchased it.
DNR
and
ends up
they
with it.
gave it,
DNR is
they're
giving
giving
it to
it to
them?
the
They're the
DNR.
final, DNR is the final owner, I believe.
recipient?
yeah, right. Okay, nothing else on that one. Let's go to the road work 2012. At your desk should be the updated information from our meeting on Saturday. And if you'll capture the one that has 3 pages through it, 4. Number 1 would be the name of the road, the miles, location, the application we decided to, that was required. And the last page would be a temporary minutes of the road inspection tour that we took on the 19th. So I tried to come up with only those roads that we felt we needed to do something with. And Shower Road, as we're showing, is a continuation of the reconstruction in 2011. And that was, they were there today to pave it. I don't know if they finished the entire road. Paul, do you know? Anyway, they assured me it would be completed and the shouldered area would be done before the Memorial Weekend, so they have the rest of this week to get that completed. The grade and gravel, the addition to that was Clark Lake Beach, and that will be done hopefully tomorrow. Other concerns that we came up with, and I want to make sure that you still concur with this. The Shower Road from Cape Point Park to Jacksonport Township. Our take was that we didn't have enough money to do that portion of it. And we were going to lay that over and see if we could work something out with the county. Either for them to take over the entire road or else to give us some assistance, because the true violation occurs when they park on both sides of that section north of Cape Point to the town line of Jacksonport. We did go out in the area and we took a look to see what our problems were. One area we have a very large drop off, and on the other one we're into some really hard topsoil, as in rock. So it's not anything we're going to act on this particular time. However, it's a future item. The mowing, as we discussed, the width of the mower to the rear of the tractor, including a single arm to the right, would be the only cutting machine that we would allow, and that would be considered a single cut. And they are at the ready, they being the county. And the way it is right now, unless we have an awful large growth, we'll do that sometime in June to see if we can make it through the year without a secondary cut. Are we, Linda, do you remember if we were on was that a $20,000 venture for both or just a single?
For mowing this year, we budgeted 13,000. We spent.
What was our activity last year? Do you remember?
Last year for mowing, we spent $20,000.
All right, I think we did that at budget time to kind of cut it
Thought
back.
we were gonna go
already.
back with one,
Single.
but I thought we were talking about cutting in July, not June.
Well, we're gonna monitor it and they'll go whenever we give them the go-ahead, so.
Okay.
Also, talked to the patrol superintendent, Thad Ash, later today, and he was up to take a look at the north side of Town Line to extend the parking area and come up with a cost share with the town of Jacksonport. It was his feeling, the Chairman Bernstein and I spoke about this maybe 2 weeks ago. It's a kid. We agreed to share the cost for it, and at best they would bring it up a foot and maybe extend it to the north by 1.5 feet at most, breaker run and gravel. And last time around, I think the total cost was like $2,800, so it won't be a large item. So it's something he was gonna talk to Al Bernstein about, and we'll be in touch to see how it's gonna go further. The nuisances that we found on our inspections, Old Highway Road with Veolia, the DNR permit compliance, did have complaint about their activities there, and it looks like they've done a pretty decent on cleanup, including their equipment. We also identified another on Erdman Road and the Whitefish Bay Road properties also came in for discussion. And it was quite advantageous in the Green Bay Press Gazette on Sunday. They had a situation there where the town of Ledgeview, I believe it was, had incurred nearly $30,000 in attorney fees over the last 4 years in cases that started with a $3,140 penalty. So it sounds as if it's something we can take care of. The biggest problem we have is in the enforcement, and the expenditure is either we go in and clean it up or else they pay a penalty. Sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So.
Well, like, you know, I did read that Sunday when it came out, and as you read through the end of it, basically the judge is also saying that, you know, there was some not kosher dill things done by the township. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying and don't disagree with it, but at the same time, it appeared as if these guys pushed the limit well past what I think normal and reasonable would be, and therefore that's one of the reasons.
I read the entire thing too, it kind of
irritated you that they did that.
almost like the added vendetta. So.
Right, so.
But just to give you a heads up, and we did talk about it, so. And then we did identify some tree branch removal and some preventative tree trimming, and also authorize the purchase of the material for the pavement at Shower Road because it was in a local road improvement project. And that had to be purchased from the private sector. And that cost was $49.20 for a total of $41,328 at the Northeast Asphalt site on County MM, and trucked to Shower Road and laid in place by the County of Dorr. So it's before you tonight as an item for the proposed road work 2012. And the request is, do we which roads do we put out for bid, or do you want to do it all to see how they come back in price? Cost? And which date do you want them back for?
I think we want to go with all, just to give us an idea as to what we can and can't do based on our budget, right?
All being 1 through 9?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I'd agree.
I'd agree with all of them.
Okay, we can,
If nothing else, we'd know what it might run us if we carried over to the next year. So if you're gonna do the work, I'd do it
So
all.
would we issue an RFP, or?
well, we do an RFP. If you want to short change it, you can go directly to the county and ask for a bid without going to the private sector. However, in the past, I think last year we went to the private sector as well. didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
We did both, yeah.
What did
might as
we,
well go to both, let's,
did we advertise, or we just contact them directly?
I think we advertised. I think.
I know last year there was some roads that the county was cheaper on and some roads.
yeah.
The other
Right.
companies were cheaper.
And actually, we kind of split it. depending
Right.
on who was
We did.
Half and half, so.
Yes, we did.
Also at your desk is the other provisions here, the personal service, crack filling service corporation, and the American Pavement Solutions for crack sealing. And maybe Scott Construction Company for their cold mix wedge and seal. And partnered with their application as well, the sealers and what other kind of service that they could provide. Crack sealing, slurry, and micros. And also the line painting if you wanted to go. Gives you a better idea of what's out there anyway. So what's your pleasure? Do you want to go to the newspaper, or how do you want to advertise?
Can we,
I think what we'll do is just,
Send it out.
let me suggest that we just do it and say that the road work for the town is made available at the office of the county clerk or town clerk. Because otherwise, we're gonna pay by word, and pretty soon that gets to be a rather expensive item. Are you gonna put this up on the web perhaps, or not? Would that be doable, or not?
Well, I can put it on our website, but it really should be published in the paper as well, then. Is that what you're saying? You do want to publish?
Well, I don't wanna publish every road.
No, just contact the town office for,
Yeah.
that's what we said last year.
For road
Contact the
work.
town office for details.
All right.
road work for
All right,
2020?
if we can do that, that'll work. And then we'll open it up. All right, I need a motion then to that effect.
A motion that we put an ad in the paper requesting RFP with the information residing at the office.
Very good.
With a date?
We're gonna have to have a due date,
By next meeting?
Before
Oh,
the
that's pretty short, isn't it?
Next meeting's a month
18th.
prior to the next meeting.
Yeah.
I'd second that motion.
okay, we have a motion then, and our next date would be June 18th. Is that acceptable?
You could give it.
Yes.
You could give them the Friday before that, which is
Responses
June
are-
15th.
All right, we would make it, yeah, that's a very good point.
Then
So
I
you-
can have copies and spreadsheet it and everything.
All right,
So responses are due on Friday,
June 15th,
June 15th.
at close of business.
At
okay,
5
June
p.m.
15th, and make it by noon, that way we've got some time to work on
Okay.
it. All right,
So you're not waiting here till 6 o'clock for the last one.
there you go. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried.
Who seconded the motion?
Dan.
Dan?
Dan.
Dan.
Okay, the resolution would be next for the committee appointments. I'm still in limbo on some of the appointments. We might be reducing some of the committees down to 5. Others are in need of replacement. Have you had any action on your pig channel or not? Or is that the one you want to go down to 5? But you also have fire and rescue as well.
Yeah, fire, I think we want to go down to 5. Tag, we're going to lose 1, so we can leave it as is, just reduce it by 1.
All right, well, let's carry it over till next month, and the committees will operate as they are until that time. And you had the correspondence part of your packet. Did you have any questions on any of the items that were there? Pretty much the standard every month?
Standard
Yep.
fare.
Kind of funny that we had 2 ice rescues. But
I did enjoy reading the 2-page single-spaced letter regarding the curve.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting reading.
I already talked to Going Garbage about that, and it doesn't look like they're gonna get off the road. I gave it also to the highway commissioner and asked for him to bring it before the highway safety group. So we'll see where that one goes.
I have one question before we adjourn or move forward. When are the applications for liquor licenses due?
They must be on file in the town office at least 15 days before granting the license, so they must be on file here no later than June 15th. And they will be heard at our board meeting next month
Okay.
on June 18th.
All
We do
right.
have some delinquencies, so I will be sending out invoices and reminders on payments.
I think they get ample notice, and there is, Linda takes care of them pretty well, so I feel that we should not have any special meetings.
Yeah, the initial letter and all the forms went out, I believe, April 15th, so that's over 2 months that they have to respond.
And they do come due every year at the same time.
Okay, do you have any applications in hand or not?
Yes, I've received several back already,
Okay.
And we've already asked for clarification on the one in question.
and I haven't received a response from our attorney
Okay.
yet on that.
Actually, we have 2 in question, correct?
Right.
Okay, so we will act on those on June 18th, and they're due on the 15th anyway, so, all right.
Sounds good.
Okay, on Monday, the announcements are that Monday, May 28th, the office will be closed. Linda will be at the Mayfest Parade. No, that's the day before. Friday, June 1st, 10 to noon is the open book for the 2012 assessment roll. Appointments are recommended, and if you need any, by calling the town office, you'll have your appointment. June 5th is the recall election. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. June 11, Sevastopol Historical Society at 7:30 p.m. at the town hall. Now, that's a change from normal Sunday.
I meant to change that to Sevastopol Historical Society meeting. It's not a presentation, it's just one of our
Oh.
regular meetings, sorry, at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, so that's your
Just our regular monthly meeting.
regular monthly, okay. And June 28th, the open book for the 2012 assessment roll beginning at 1 o'clock at the town hall, and those, you can contact the town office for the procedure. And in that regard, if you're going to be here, we will give you a time to be present. Next meeting is Monday, June 18th at 7 p.m.
Did you say the 28th or the 18th?
Did I say the 18th?
18th.
Agenda items for next meeting, please.
Could I just comment?
Okay, we do have the RFPs, right?
When did we do the border review till?
Yeah.
Right before the other meeting. Till the 18th of June.
Oh, I thought that's what it was. I just was thinking he has open book on there, but it means Board of Review.
Open book is on Friday morning. You do not need to be here for that.
I know, but it's listed here on
We
the
got two
agenda as
open
Monday,
books.
June 18th, open book.
Actually, that one
That
is not
is-
an open book,
that's the Board of Review.
I'm sorry, Board of Review.
That's why I
right.
said I thought something
Yes.
Yeah,
seemed
okay.
strange
Yep,
there.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Board of Review is
By the way, I might
Monday.
not be able to make that one, Tom. Can you handle that one, you think?
I don't know.
Well, you normally do.
Well, then in that case, there's no need to even ask.
Okay, agenda items for next meeting, the RFP on the roads, and what else? Dan, did you have them?
No, sir, nothing. So we do have the Board of Review
The Board of Review.
Board of Review, I'm
at
sorry.
1 o'clock, 1 to 4?
3 hours, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah, okay.
1 to 4, is it?
So do we end with the happy birthday, Dan, or do we,
No,
You skipped over public participation.
who's,
Public participation.
you
Too
did.
late now, everybody left.
no, I didn't. I did it way in the beginning.
No, you
Okay.
just
Did
did
the
meet and greet.
Oh, I just forgot about that.
Did somebody have a
I
comment?
have a couple comments.
No.
Thank yous. The boys, Kyle Volkman and Josh Paul, did a really great job last week. The grounds at the town hall and the town park and all the ball fields looked really, really nice. I'd also like to thank Betty Keno. She made a contribution of some really beautiful geraniums that will be decorating our front door shortly, if I ever get around to putting them in the pots.
I thought those were a gift for the supervisors. I put one in my car.
Oh,
Thanks, Betty.
I saw him too, and I didn't know Santa had arrived in the month of May. But thank you. All right, motion would be in order to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we are.